Diadems, I'm doing very well. A little bit tired. I got a bit of a late start, so sorry about that, everyone. As normally, we'd be about knee deep into some content creation. But things are as they are, and here we are still together. So thank you all very much for that. It was a good and busy day. Part of that, I was out Pokemon hunting. Right? I try and set some time aside to go out and do some hunting with others, as our city is just awesome for it. And so it was Slack-Offs today. Silver Pirate, about 5 years. Well, welcome. Now, is this you being your group's DM mostly, or have you been on both sides of the screen a good deal? Well, hopefully you do, Black Wolf. But we shall see when the electronic ink hits the electronic paper. Are you going to behave? Are you? I don't know if you could hear that. She just looked up at me and... Well, I'm glad that you've gotten to play and run together, Silver. And if it's in a good cycle, you have broken the DM's curse. Because often in groups, we find the trend is that one friend is the one who runs most of the time, and doesn't get to play all that often. Yep, gotta hold you to the follow through, because I mean, you could tell me you're gonna write every day, and every day you don't. Just what does that mean, right? It could diminish the impact of such statements. And so I would rather... Black Wolf, I would... here's a good challenge. I would rather you never tell me... I mean, you don't have to, but... I would rather you never tell me that you're going to write, and then surprise me by dropping something on my electronic desk on Discord. And say, hey, this is what I've been working on for a while, and I'm looking for feedback. Because doing that is going to be much more impactful than saying, well, I think I'm going to write tomorrow, or I plan on writing tomorrow, because, I mean, what could happen tomorrow that ends up derailing you? So I'm not calling you out, or I'm not making fun of you in a negative fashion, but if we're kind of going in a black and white, I know it's an extreme to one or the other. It's much more meaningful if you just put the work in without telling people you're doing it. Because then, when it comes time to look at it or review it, we don't have any sort of preconceived notions. You haven't told us either what you're doing or why you're doing it, or you weren't pre-explaining concepts in your story. Because if you want honest feedback on it, then you got to give it to someone who doesn't know. Because then you'll be able to judge what were they able to pick up from your work. What were their impressions? What were they confused about, or what did they really enjoy? Emmy says our DM curse will usually sit on one person for roughly a year, and then they'll pass it on to someone else. We take turns. Yeah, I really enjoy, especially, well, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday for you all. But I really enjoy the rotating DM one shots. Although you're probably referencing a non-broadcasted private game, am I correct? I'll be working the next chapter in my campaign for the group I run. In Silver, if you want to share some of that, or if you have questions or say, I'm kind of stuck on something, just because I'm going to be presenting Saltmarsh content, or, anything else that you're in here while we're presenting, just because there's a workshop going on, doesn't mean that myself or others won't be able to answer questions or give you some feedback. So you truly, you're sitting at a table in a game store, Silver. You truly have been welcomed aboard, and I want you to feel comfortable and either relax, ask questions, participate, because I'll oftentimes offer prompts to get some feedback from the audience. And I sincerely hope you enjoy yourself here. All right. Oh, that's why you're squeaking. All right. I see why she's squeaking. She's squeaking because of the ring. This cat loves to play fetch. And she especially loves to play fetch when I'm broadcasting. Her eyes are so big right now because I was when I'm talking, I tend to talk with my hands. I don't think I have too much Italian heritage, but you know, there you go. Go get it. So we'll see what happens. she'll interrupt the workshops as well, but you know what? She doesn't mean any harm by it. Yep, just write something, Black Wolf, and plop it down in the channel if you want, or if you don't want everyone to give you feedback who might see it. I mean, you have other mentors you could talk to, or even just write it for yourself. Sit on it for a week and go back to it. Rewrite it because you know you're going to find stuff you want to change. Sit on it for a couple days or a week and come back. And after you've polished it for, you know, however long, not that we know that you're doing any of this, you can come back and say, all right, I've been writing this and working on this for a month. Here's a particular segment. I would like to get your impression on it. And you don't tell us anything. You don't tell us it's sci-fi or horror. You don't tell us it's comedy or whatever. You just set it down and you let us take the bait and fall into your trap to read it. And you'll see if you snare our attention or if we're kind of hemming and hawing saying, I don't know about this. One of the characters I like the best is the Charger, a Drow warrior. But what do you mean by the Charger, Silver Pirate? Challenger. By challenger, do you mean a rival to the party, or what is the? Can you describe that a little bit more, Silver? And it very well may be just me misunderstanding your words. Now, speaking of things like characters and world building and all of this, I want to take a moment to review our characters. And especially for all of you that are DMs out there, and especially in 5th edition, you can find a wealth of inspiration for a story you want to run or to adjust a pre-written module that will really be able to capture the attention of your players by making it more personable to their characters. And the best way to do that is to take a look at the backgrounds of your characters. And, you know, backgrounds are such an amazing component to 5th edition. However, I feel that they're used more for the mechanics than for the roleplay inspiration. Now, when we're making characters, we're relying on our backgrounds, right? It is a very crucial part of them as we develop them. Still, you know, with however people want to play, because there's no one way to play D&D. There absolutely isn't. And I'm not going to sound like an elitist, like, oh, well, you're not playing with backgrounds? Well, off with you. That's not a true D&D game. You know, that's the, there she is. Clawing at my leather. It's the true Scotsman fallacy. Oh. All right, are you gonna behave? There. Thank you for spamming on the cat butts. Because there's her and her brothers around here somewhere who will probably slug up on screen somewhere. Because he is definitely a big old fuzzy slug. Alright, so we're looking for inspiration for NPCs that would exist in the world, as well as villains, because we're going to be making a couple of each tonight. And we're going to go through a pretty good method for doing this. Let's take a look at Tiny. Now, Tiny is our ship's quartermaster. She works hard. Nature offers no handouts. I laugh heartily, feel deeply, and fear nothing. Hey, hi. Are you well? Hey. Hey. Are you gonna behave? Just thwacking me in the neck. Is that you're gonna behave? All right. We're going to slowly continue to proceed. Basically, one of the needs, challenging opponent, so I took a look at what the character hates the most and gives them a good fight. Ah, okay, Silver. Then you'll see that we'll be backing up that kind of sentiment. Black Wolf, yeah. Let's see, her ideal is luck. Our luck depends on respecting its rules. Now throw salt over your shoulder. I lost something important in the deep sea, and I intend to find it. And I work hard, but play harder. So we have a very individual character. She did take the Fisher background. She took the Fisher background from Ghost of Saltmarsh. And she did have a fishing story where she claims she fought, or she caught a fish that had fins made of pure gold, and it got away. So this could very well be it could be a villain, could be an NPC. We'll put golden finned fish as well, because she is a quartermaster, right? She's proficient with navigator's tools, and so primarily in here we go. In this sorry, let me go back to it. Ships in the sea. The quartermaster plots the ship's course, relying on knowledge of nautical charts and a study of weather and sea conditions. A reliable quartermaster tends to have a high wisdom score, as well as proficiency with navigator's tools and the nature skill. So a couple other people with whom she may have a good relationship would be Mapmaker, or its guild, as well as the proper guild. Might be, I don't know, goldsmithing, if we're talking about fine metals and small things, maybe some glass lenses or the like. But the Mapmaker / guild, or the pardon. Or, she may even know a mage, or especially a druid. Druid craft is especially good because it can predict weather. So she may know a magic user on whom she can rely for navigation or weather, or some sort of, insight or training otherwise. All right, next up was our ship's surgeon. In fact, I'm going to put that here. Navigator. Our ship's doctor, or its surgeon, Doc Salem, he was a Marine, as in the soldier, that had been captured for a while, and it kind of interrupted his personality and his personal growth. I speak rarely but mean every word I say. I laugh loudly and see humor in stressful situations. The Marines Code provides a solution for every problem, and following it is imperative. I face danger and evil to offset an unredeemable act in my past, and I hold grudges and have difficulty forgiving others. So there's a couple inspirations here for NPCs or villains. We have past soldiers who or commanders that could still be alive. We have whoever captured and tortured him. Captors, enemy soldiers. As well, if we are holding to this, if we're holding to this book, this Marine Code, there's probably a source, a person who might be the director of an academy, or someone who might, with whom he might check in, even if it turns out to be another doctor, right? Because he had to learn these skills somewhere, and maybe after he was rescued, or actually he didn't really rescue, he busted himself out because the stress gave him these wild magic sorceress powers. Maybe because he sought healing for his wounds, and so maybe that's where he was taught the skill. So he would have some sort of a medical mentor who could also be a soldier. Maybe just gilded fins, a thin layer like gold leaf on top of regular fins. Yeah, the fish got away, so, Black Wolf, you gotta trust, you have to trust Zulurpai. Because there's no reason not to. Ubiquitous, thank you very much for the follow and welcome aboard. Next up, we have Gangili. She is... I'm sorry, he. Gangili is our captain of our ship, who is also a shipwright. Now, as a part of this favored aspect to the background, the favored background indicates that there is a merchant that owes him a favor of some kind, whether it's a nice dinner, maybe some money or influence, because of Gangili's advice on ship construction. The merchant followed through, and it actually saved the ship. So we have a grateful merchant. Oh, you know what? We still forgot to drop in the 2 other ability score improvements. I'm kind of thinking we'll put it in Dex. Let's do that. Ta-da! Yay! All right. Anyway, so that'll get saved here. Now, what else can we learn? I thrive under pressure. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. So this would be the mentor who taught shipwright how to build a ship. Make what you need out of whatever's at hand. Much of the treasure I claim will be used to enrich my community. Now, the community aspect then can be taken in a lot of different ways. Is this the community of Duragar, or because he is a misfit, as everyone aboard this ship is a misfit, which actually is kind of wonderful and poetic in its own sense. Where's that money flowing? That could even be to go and pay off like a debt that he owed to the guild that taught him his skills. Or this could simply be he doesn't ask for a lot, and so while he's entitled to a captain's share of the treasure, instead he takes a minimal share and spreads the rest out to the other officers and crew. I sometimes take things that don't belong to me, especially if they are well made. So there could be the possibility of someone angered over his passive theft. Yep, we can put Captain right here. Yeah, he may be the captain, but he works on the ship himself. Silvered, oi, fishman woman thing, what say you? Have you just given up all hope in life, or what's going on? Oh, thank you. Next up, we have Vivian. Now, Vivian, by her background, is a smuggler whose big claim to fame is being able to play both sides. So, we could have NPCs and or villains or other rivals, or just foils, of the agents of two rival factions to whom she sold merch. I enjoy doing things others believe to be impossible. I love being on the water but hate fishing. Daring. I am most happy when risking everything. My vessel was stolen from me and I burn with the desire to recover it, and I struggle to trust the words of others. So, one thing really jumps out from the background. Others believe to be impossible, as well as being daring. You aren't daring unless, you could take a personal thrill, but she wants to do things others believe to be impossible. To whom does she brag? Now, it could be in the safety of the other officers aboard the ship, or if she started her thieving ways before she was an officer, which is most likely the case. Did she have a childhood friend? I mean, I say that she's only 13. Did she have a friend who maybe would just be enthralled by her acrobatics or her capers that she would go on? As well, something to consider. Who taught her these wilderness skills? Now, there is an interesting connection, and we could have fun with a character map here. We have a Gloomstalker Ranger. We also have a Shadow Sorcerer. And these two characters could share something in common, right? If we go over to Camise real quick. Camise is another child, and she is a product of the Shadowfell, or of some sort of dark powers that have imbued magic through her. Pardon me. There could very well be some kind of, we'll put like, shadowy influence that ended up adopting these kids and empowering them. Maybe because no one wanted them, right? They were the fringes of society. People wouldn't have done anything with them, and so they could be products of that. And so where humans that could have given them a warm home or guidance have left them behind, the cold embrace of the Shadowfell or some other similar supernatural entity visited them and took them in. and then they could be agents or in some sense, or just because it's ghostly or it might touch on the undead doesn't mean that it's not. It is not an uncompassionate force, right? It could be a mournful spirit, and you know what? Oh, we were just talking about this with the ship. We were just talking about this with oh my gosh, it was right there in front of me the whole time. All right, you'll see what I'm going to talk, what I'm going to say in just a minute. But you see this? It's a Band of Misfits on roll once more. Easy quest setup. It does write itself, Black Wolf. And yeah, we're finding a ton of inspiration right now, Silver, that could lead to nautical adventures and character arcs and all sorts of wonderful stuff. And you know what? If we're the DM, our players are handing us this information when we get to take a look at their sheets. Black Wolf, doesn't the ship talk to the captain? It very well may still, and in fact, that's where that idea is going to go, Black Wolf. So hang on to it for just a minute longer. So now we come over to... Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. Vivian was our first mate. Camise is our bosun. Now, she is an urchin, who is our shadow sorcerer. So once more, we have a shadowy influence. As an urchin in Saltmarsh, as being one of the original backgrounds, there are ways to incorporate those specifically into Saltmarsh without being one of the 4 new Saltmarsh backgrounds. And as this bonus, or as this hook for an urchin from the player's handbook to be drawn in, we know a secret about an important NPC, or that NPC owes us a favor for a job we did. NPC owed favor or held secret. I don't like to bathe. I bluntly say what other people are hinting at or hiding. Respect. All people, rich or poor, deserve respect. I escaped my life of poverty by robbing an important person, and I'm wanted for it. Target of robbery. And people who can't take care of themselves get what they deserve is her attitude and her flaw. And as our Shadow Sorcerer quirk, we are always icy cold to the touch. We're seeing some good correlation here that could lead to some cool NPCs that won't just exist for the sake of one player character alone. Now our final character here, Mikaw. We have a Goo Blade Warlock, who is also a knight, which is a sub background of noble. This is already going to bring up a couple NPCs. The Goo Patron. And as we're talking about, a possibility is that he simply thinks that he's a knight of a far-off land because that is what his patron has put into his mind. So he may not necessarily be a knight as per some, shining armor, Western European stereotypical invocation of such. Especially because he doesn't wear heavy armor. But that doesn't mean he can't carry himself in a knightly fashion. So we have our Goo Patron. We have our noble network, right? Even if we think we know someone who's important, who could be our our great sire, the leader of the lands or something. Those are other people. Now there's a couple other folks that our patrons, our warlocks bringing in. Our warlock is bringing in 3 retainers because we chose retainers instead. And by the way, our cook, who Macaw is, I would argue our cook is actually the most powerful and influential person aboard this ship. Fortunately, he doesn't have nefarious schemes because he's just been sent out to keep eyes and ears open for things that would interest the patron. However, the fact that we ourselves are an investigator, we have 3 retainers with us on the ship. Also, we have the ability to have a thrall to mind control someone, as well as I'll call it a ride-along. Because we have the invocation that lets us look through someone else's eyes or ears. So we could have 5 crew members be agents of ours if this is our character. And each of those crew members could have different talents, different sources of information, different networks. And so our cook is an awesome source of info about what's going on. And anything our cook or our other people can't do, well, our cook himself, he can get someone to help. He volunteers people to help out with certain tasks in order to get it done. Time to go. All right, Silver Pirate. Well, thank you for being in the chat here and also for chilling with the cat as I saw you comment. Thanks for finding us and for hanging out with us and chatting. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far and that we'll see you back. Now, I don't broadcast Sunday or Monday, so when we come back on Tuesday, for Tuesday, we are going to be role-playing, where I practice what I preach. And you're welcome to join and role-play and have fun with us there. And then Wednesday through Saturday will be another workshop session. And yes, Silver, that is true. That's discluding the fact that we have someone who controls everyone else's stomach, including the captain's. Which could also mean if he was in a foul temperament, he could poison, or through disease like food poisoning through salmonella or whatever. The life of the ship is really in the cook's hands in this case. That's a very good observation, Silver. Camise being wanted probably can't go ashore in certain ports. Yes. And so we have the target of robbery, and then so broadly, she would have not just the target of the robbery, but others who might keep an eye out for her, depending on the nature of the person whom she robbed or, how public was it. So that's a good point, Zulurpai. Let's see. Is there anything else here? I take great pains to always look my best and follow the latest fashions. Aha. We must have a connection with some sort of fashion consultant. My eloquent flattery makes everyone I talk to feel like the most wonderful and important person in the world. Family blood runs thicker than water. The common folk must see me as a hero of the people, and by my words and actions, I often bring shame to my family. Oh, wah, wah. He just wants to prove himself. Come on. Now, lastly, boop, 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 boop. We made the ship on Wednesday going into Thursday. No, Thursday going into Friday. And we made the ship as an NPC. In so doing, though, this ship has elements to it that we randomly rolled and developed based somewhat on the NPC guide that we're going to be getting into. And as we were going over the ship and its aspects, right? This memory, somehow it speaks loudly. And we're discussing some of the special, like the hull upgrades and magical properties. The Forget-Me-Not definitely has a shadowy, benevolent influence, as it the souls of people who have fought aboard the ship, or the ships it fought against, end up being sort of captured by the ship and turned into artwork along the hull and railings and such. And their information is collected, as well as a representation of all the people who fought in memory or in servitude, or just as a way to be sort of a piece of living history. And the reason for this that we were coming up with to help describe all of the random prompts that we generated was that at one point in time, this was a ship perhaps like many others. In fact, the ship itself was a misfit, right? As its occupation was an urchin. So maybe, it wasn't necessarily the bet. Oh, I'm losing the cat. All right. Taking off? You just want a head scratch? So the ship itself was probably spurned by others who had better ships, more functional ships. And in some great battle, the captain, wanting to help and to prove that he, his crew, and the ship that they were on can actually be useful, ended up crying out to his god for help. And when that didn't produce results, he instead sought an infernal style pact where he sold his soul and sacrificed his crew so that the ship would win the day. And so the crew died, including the captain. And the captain is now trapped. I mean, the other souls too, but the captain is more of a kind of like a Jacob Marley figure from the Dickens Christmas Carol, where the captain is in kind of a purgatory, where he needs to earn back the love and respect of people, and to actually live up to what people remember him by. Because as far as the mortals, everyone who's lived beyond that battle are concerned, he was a hero. The ship won. And of course, it kind of came back from the battle a little twisted and charred and scarred and everything, because now there's these kind of like figures and everything along the hull. But he wasn't the one who did that, right? He sold out. And so he's serving a purgatory inside the ship, as the ship, or as a part of it anyway, in order to help people, to help misfits step up and be the big damn heroes that they can be and that they should be. All while, helping them to understand themselves, or to help them find a place in the greater world without having to succumb to the easy out, or the easy method. So the ship itself, a shadowy, benevolent influence. And you know what? This could also be a part of, with all the warriors that have died aboard the ship, all the knowledge, all of the memories that are never forgotten. This ship can not only inspire people, but teach people, especially if they're kids. And we do have a lot of misfit kids, right? Kids that don't fit in because they were street rats, they were urchins, they were thieves, well, a smuggler. And so they found themselves aboard this ship. Better the crew don't run into any pirates on the way. It would be interesting, Silver, because we have kind of a ship of last chancers who would be willing to do things in an erratic fashion, or perhaps even confront, or just act in a way that perhaps many other captains may not be able to predict. So the ship has scrimshaw depicting the lost crews and battles. If not scrimshaw, then reliefs, or maybe a combination of both. So the ship itself could be a shadowy influence, and then of course there's the devil who holds the deal, and or deity that looked over the crew before the captain turned away. Our ideal is that of whimsy, you know, so we're trying to experience life, to challenge ourselves, to try new things all the time as a ship, but kind of as an overall attitude that it conveys. The bond, it's always drawn to a special place. And that could end up meaning the special place. I mean, we could develop that as a piece of terrain. The special place, though, could end up being something like the bay in which this battle was fought. And if that's the case, are the rival souls that were put down because of the sacrifice made by the captain of his crew. Like, so the crew might even begrudge the captain and hate the captain because of, you know, they were sacrificed to this power. But we have the enemy officers and crew that were defeated by the fiendish sacrifice. And so who themselves might be compelled, or somehow it was struck as part of the deal, right? I'll help you defeat your physical enemies, but what if there are now some ghost ships or some spirits that haunt the seas? And so this boat is always drawn back there because the boat and its crew have to actually defeat. Like, they haven't defeated in an ultimate fashion the enemy. The enemy was simply robbed of their bodies and left behind as ghosts or spirits. Or, I don't know, maybe very soggy zombies or something. Correct, Zulerpai. It is more of a quick maneuverable because we rolled it as being a bard, a College of Swords bard. Which you do get some movement speed bonus, and you do get to strike physically, not just magically. So we decided that we're going to use a sailing ship, and we're going to replace the mangonel, which is a miniature catapult, with a naval ram. And then where the mangonel would be on the deck, we're going to put a crane, because that's going to represent a little bit more cargo, like the ability to haul cargo. So our cargo storage, we decided would be fair in this exercise, in the series of prompts. Our cargo could go up, and we'll give them something to lift the cargo better, because Goliaths have an ability that allow them to push, pull, carry, and drag much, much more than they should have, than they should be able to otherwise. Yes, Silver. And Silver, when I don't know if you're lurking throughout all of this, these are the product of random rolls, and then us using our imaginations to fill in the dots, and yet look at all the content that's coming from it. All right, so we have some prompts for NPCs. And now what I'd like to do is to go through at least one, possibly two exercises where I want to take this information I don't like what that did. we're going to go through an NPC random generator. We're going to use the information that we already have. And the first NPC I want to build with you all is we're going to just randomize. We're going to randomize the stats and the information about the NPC. And then I want to take a look at the NPCs that we can have be available. And of course, you know, there's always general NPCs in a world that don't have to directly relate to one or more. You know, there could just be there's the dockmaster who knows this ship, you know, and just he's not a part of the crew. He's, you know, at worst neutral towards it. Could even be benevolent, and even someone who might look the other way time and again. Because he knows that generally they do good, even if it's through unorthodox means. And so we can have something like that, you know, or if not the dockmaster, just honestly the old salt who just fishes every day at the end of the same pier, watches the ships and the tides and everything go in and out, and so we just have this person who just exists. Could be a wellspring of information, or contacts, or honestly, just a well-meaning person who might someday be relevant, or otherwise maybe these are the type of people we fight for, you know, in a campaign arc where, you know, the town's at risk or something like that. All right, so anyway, we have in the where is, here we go, Dungeon Master's Guide. We are going to go to creating non-player characters. Now, name, we don't have that yet, and that's fine. Occupation and history, there's a couple ways we can determine that. One is we can just, you know, if we know that we need occupation and history, old fisherman at the end of the pier, or the you know, the kindly the kindly patron who owns the tavern on the docks, who always gives us credit when she doesn't have to, for our beers, knowing that we'll be good for it next time we're in port. Another way that you can come up with an occupation in history would be to roll for a background. Because backgrounds in history, that's exactly what we just drew on. And so with this case, we don't know necessarily who this person's going to be. So I want to randomly generate a background. And to do this, I'm going to open up our character generator. Oh, Silver, I absolutely agree. And you'll see that for our workshops, we do a lot of random rolls because I want to challenge you all to think and to improvise and to make connections. Because if you can do it through odd, sometimes stretching results from your rolls, you can absolutely work in your own mental playground when you're creating stories. So let's open up our dice roller here. There are 13 different backgrounds in the player's handbook, although technically, if you expand it out, it's 18, because there's, you know, knight is a subsect of noble. So we're gonna have our 18, and then we're gonna add in the 4 Saltmarsh backgrounds. That's gonna give us 22 different results. I'm going to roll a 22-sided die, and why don't we figure out which background, so this would be the occupation and history of a sort, this NPC has. We rolled a 17. So when we're looking at backgrounds, let's expand this. 17. Whoop. Haha. I gotta click off of Ba-da-ba-da. There we go. 17. Oh, a soldier. And specifically, soldiers, there are D8 kinds of soldiers in the player's handbook. And we have number 5. So now we're going to pop over to Chapter 4. And let's scroll down. It's alphabetical. I hope you all have your player's handbooks handy. Come on now. Result number 5 is a healer. All right. And we can come back with a couple extra details, but I'm not worried about that right now. I just want some placeholders, and then we can start talking things through. Now, we're going to go back to our Dungeon Master Guide. Actually, I should check real quick if there's anything fun or extra. There's Fisher, Outlander, Smuggler, Soldier. Many retired soldiers of the Kaoish army make their home in the southern reaches, and you are no different. You might have served some time as a member of the town guard. Regardless of whether you did so, you have several friends among their ranks. The captain of the guard, Eleander Fireborn, is friendly toward fellow veterans and is willing to make time to meet with you if the need is urgent. At your option, you can also own a small plot of land and a farm outside of town. So, something to consider, right? If you have this background in a Saltmarsh environment, here's a way to modify what being a soldier gives you otherwise in the player's handbook. You know, if we still want this to be the retired veteran soldier, instead of a farm outside of town, maybe he just owns a little boathouse that has the dock, and he fishes at the end of his own dock. All right, now we're going to come back here. NPC appearance. What is something that is a notable feature about this NPC? So this is going to be a D20 roll. Then we're going to roll 2d6 to find out his high ability and his low ability. And then we're going to proceed to the next page, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So a D20 roll. We rolled a 5. And then a 1 and a 6. 5. 1. 6. Coming back here, we then have a talent. Maybe the soldier owns a game store. Hey, that could be fun. I'm very happy to have a lot of veterans in my community. They tell some amazing stories. So we have our talents and our mannerisms. And then how do we get along with other people? So we're going to roll 2d20 and then a d12. 1, 10, 2. 1, 10, 2. Once more, for our ideal, useful knowledge, we're going to fill that in ourselves. I mean, we don't necessarily have to. We could, I guess if we wanted to roll on the intelligence, or we could roll for, we could even roll for a couple skills, right? If we open up one of the character sheets here, you know, useful knowledge, if you want to randomize it, roll, you know, knowledge athletics. Well, maybe he could teach something that could end up being a mechanical upgrade, or honestly, it's just, oh yeah, you want to know how you can climb the old slippery seawall? Now look, don't tell me what you're doing because I don't want to testify in court. But if you want to learn how to scale a wall that's tricky like that, I'll tell you how you can do it. So there could be useful knowledge like that. There, of course, can be plot bombs that you could drop on your players. There's all sorts of things that we can assign, either through random rolls or just through fleshing out the character. But we have our ideal, and then a bond, and then a flaw or a secret. And again, we're just getting placeholders right now. So it's going to be 2d6 for the ideal, a d10, and a d12. So 1, 4, 3, 3. 1, 4, 3, and a 3. Stop writing myself. Well, I'm not a veteran, if that's what you're getting at. I thought about it in high school. I thought about joining the military. And I actually, well, my grandfather was in the Navy, and actually my dad was in the Army during the Vietnam War. I thought about it. Like, I was never pressured by family, and I'll tell you, a part of me did feel kind of ashamed that I didn't sign up after high school. But I continued, I went to college, and I made sure that if I'm not going to do military and I have a blessing to go to college after high school, I'm going to make the best of it that I can. And so I did. Ubiquitous, they have a limp because they took an arrow to the knee. Hey, that it may stop a soldier, but that won't stop a sailor, right? Sometimes you got to have that trick knee. You got to lock it in place so you don't slide around on a stormy night. Oh, gotcha, Black Wolf. Gotcha. All right, so we have our placeholders now that the bones have been cast into the augury dish. Let's read the results, shall we? Pardon. So we have this soldier healer. Could be a he or she. That, could be a dwarf. Could be another Aarakocra. I don't know. And we can go back and figure that out really quickly in just a little bit here. But with the Dungeon Master's Guide charts, let's generate some more content and build this character. Our NPC appearance, I'm going to scoot this over some here. NPC appearance 5. Ragged, dirty clothes. All right, now why is that? Is that because, he doesn't have to be in his nice uniform anymore, kind of lives off the land or lives off the sea, so you don't have to dress up? Is he honestly just really destitute? And so he says that he owns this boathouse and dock, but he really doesn't. And people just feel bad for him, so he just fishes and, people might give him charity. Or not. But his appearance, he always seems to be in ragged, dirty clothes. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that he himself is some kind of a derelict person. He could just want to be seen this way, because this is a presentation he's putting on for people. All right, his abilities. His high ability is number 1, strength. His low ability is 6, charisma. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to really assign scores and all this. Many NPCs you create don't have to have a fully statted out sheet. In fact, just knowing that he's very strong and he's not very charismatic, that's enough that you can roleplay this character. And in many cases, that's all you need. Now, if you think he's going to be a combatant or something along those lines, you may want to stat him out. And if you do, this is a good guide in how to go about that. Yeah, he could very well be poor. Unfortunately, there are many veterans who find themselves on hard times. His talent, 1. He plays a musical instrument. Interesting. Plays a musical instrument. I wonder what instrument that could be. We don't have to decide right now. If he doesn't fish, does he perform on a corner? And that's actually, if he is poor, maybe that's how he makes a living. Of course, he's a healer, though. And so why wouldn't he be able to earn a profession that way? Or is some sort of fear or something, has some sort of fear driven him? Exactly, Ubiquitous. They may very well do that. His mannerisms. Number 10. Uses colorful oaths and exclamations. He cusses. he uses very colorful metaphors that are probably beyond the PG-13 level that I want to try and keep the channel. But you can imagine, you know, if we have a soldier, especially one who's seen a lot, if he was a healer, come back to a seaside town, he probably has some very colorful expressions. Or fronts of the enemy will get the idea is weak so he can fight him off. Yeah, Silver. It could very well just be a game of pretend. So a street musician, hurdy-gurdy maybe, collects coins from passersby. He collects worms and sells them at the local tackle shop. Hey, that could be it too, Black Wolf. Maybe he runs a worm farm. He talks like a sailor. Yes, Emmy. And a soldier and a sailor can be one and the same if he served in a navy. I mean, there's nothing saying that he had to be like in a land-based army. This could very well he was a naval officer or just a naval crewman. His interactions with others. How does he get along with other people? 2, he's arrogant. So he has a lot of self-confidence, probably a little bit too much so. We're talking about a former soldier, high strength. This is kind of like a Gaston from the Disney interpretation of Beauty and the Beast. He may very well drink like that too, Silver. Now his ideal is 1-4. So if we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then on that coordinate we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our coordinates were 1 and 4. So he has a good ideal of 4 of life. What does that mean? Could that manifest as he's a bit of a bon vivant? He enjoys living life. Now, that could very well mean that he does drink, right? If he associates life and living with something that's happy and positive, maybe he celebrates every day the fact that he lived through something that a lot of other people didn't. You know, maybe a ship went down. Maybe, there could be a lot of different things that happened. But his ideal is life. Life governs this character's actions primarily. Arrogant can go very well with a low charisma, exactly. Maybe he is employed now as shore patrol, the tough naval police that ordinary sailors fear when ashore. Oh, yeah. So he could just be, he could be a private security guard, he could be military police, work in a naval dock, or some sort of, some sort of like a shore patrol, which isn't just an average town guard. Like these are people who are used to taking on very burly longshoremen or naval officers, and so probably have the strength and abilities to meet or beat those very burly men and women who make their living in such a way. Now, our bond as an NPC is number 3. Protective of colleagues or compatriots. That might go into why he was a healer, or still is. Protective of colleagues or compatriots. Living or dead, even. What if he was serving aboard a ship that went down? And everyone died but him, or most everyone did, but maybe somehow he's the only survivor. Other people like died off or something. He could be protective of that legacy as well. So it doesn't just have to be, you're my friend and I'm going to keep you safe. He could be protective of something that happened in the past. Was he traumatized in a particular fashion that would leave him, kind of holding on to those old days? And lastly, it doesn't have to be lastly, but it can be lastly, what is his flaw or his secret? We rolled number 3. Once more, his flaw, arrogance. Now, if you got this, you might be able to ask yourself, should I re-roll this? Or, what does it mean if not only our interaction with others is as an arrogant person, but our flaw is also our arrogance? Because there's a difference. We're presenting ourselves to others as if we're arrogant. And yet a flaw is an inroad into our inner self. It is a broken door that can lead to our sensitive parts in our personality. It's an inroad through which we can be attacked. It's a weakness, essentially. Our flaw, or if our secret, is arrogance. And so how could that manifest? Not feeling great tonight, so I'm going to dip, but I hope you have a good night, Maddie and chat. Thank you, Sheeps, and I appreciate you hanging out for as long as you did, especially if you're not feeling too well. Sheeps is leaving us with a lucky number before taking off for the night. Thank you so much, Sheeps. And right as that happens, the cat brought the ring back. Here, go get it. Pursuing the shore patrol idea, he could be hired as an ex-military trainer, so he goes in disguise and can help and heal his trainees if they get in trouble. The last men are those who love life the most, says Silver. So yeah, PTSD, some kind of survivor's guilt, maybe more specifically. Now, from this description alone, we can go through and generate, male, female, dwarf, tabaxi, whatever. That may not matter as much because we have the core concept of the character. We can still generate it. But with this kind of a prompt, does this description match anyone? For sure, our doctor, who was a Marine and was captured and was actually taught medical arts by someone. So this NPC could very well have a tie-in directly with our lizard folk, Marine here. Who else could this tie in with? Right, someone who wears ragged, dirty clothes, appears very unkempt, and despite that carries himself with an air of arrogance, which could be born from drink. There's nothing saying that he can't have, some kind of a chemical dependence, or just as a backup go-to or an escape method. Uses colorful oaths and exclamations. Was a soldier. So I mean, we have the Marine here in Doc. This could tie in also, perhaps, with Camise. If he caught her, or perhaps he even let her go with one of her smuggling operations. If he is this shore patrol, for some reason he might have given Camise a pass. And if so, why could that be? But if we have this, not only then do we have our ship surgeon, who knows this character, but we have our bosun as well. And we have an adult character and a child character who both have a connection to this military veteran. Was an officer and still expects respect. So, oh, there you go, Ubiquitous. So, yeah, even though he's not in the Navy anymore, and it looks like he's on hard times, he still, even from civilians or coworkers, expects to be treated as the officer that he was. That is a very good observation. Ooh, pardon me. And so that could even play into, right, if this is also a weakness, if someone found out about maybe his what happened to his ship, for as much as he boasts that he's a strong naval he's a naval corpsman and he was a healer and all this, if someone found out what happened, demands rank and respect even from civvies. Heh, that's not an autocorrect. Interesting. Demands rank and respect even from civvies, despite not being in the Navy any longer. Sorry, I'm trying to get into a good position here. My back is absolutely aching after today. A former soldier would most likely train those he likes and help those more in need than he. So in that case, I think we have a good connection. And so we can connect this this NPC with Doc, whom he passed on medical knowledge, and Camise, that he knows is a smuggler, but perhaps he looks the other way depending on what's being smuggled. You know, because he might have caught her, I don't know, stealing even something, you know, doesn't have to be particularly important. I don't know, we'll just say an apple, like we'll bring up Aladdin, right? But he says, oh, you know what? It looks like on that invoice there, it's going to have to show a couple damaged apples in transit. So I'll tell you what, if you can go get that clipboard for me, I'll make sure that that error is recorded. Wink. Or he may very well know, as a longshoreman or a shore patrol, that there are some nefarious characters, right? You have drug traffickers, weapons dealers, human traffickers, and the like. And so, you know, he sees Camise walking by with a brand new sword, looks over at the ship. That ship is a known ne'er-do-well, and he might say, well, you know, metal things fall overboard all the time. Right? Because he doesn't have to be a bad guy. I mean, his good, he does want to celebrate life or help other people live life who may not already have the chance. Someone like Camise could have that info on his failure. Exactly, Ubiquitous. And so now we're weaving together our PCs and our NPC to create a very interesting bond, right? So the bond with Doc Salem and this character is more of a positive one. It's one of mentorship. It's one where we have two soldiers who both know what it's like to have suffered loss. I mean, the Doc may even be aware of it, but of course there's probably an unspoken brotherhood. Camise isn't in the military, and she's also a young kid. And so Camise has this knowledge, and she doesn't know not to use it. So she may, but he wants to make sure that she doesn't, without putting too much attention on it, because then it could become even more valuable, especially if he already knows that she's a bit of a ragamuffin and a scamp anyway. So here we go. I mean, all he needs is a name, and if we wanted to, we could come down and we can go through some quick, if we do want to make this person more of a mechanical character, we could do so rather easily, and I can show you how real quick here. Percentile to find out. We it's a female character who is We're rolling a 1d35. 19. Race 19 is a halfling. Now a D3. If we get Ghostwise, this is going to be super eerie. Not a Ghostwise, a stout halfling. So we have a female stout halfling of the alignment who is chaotic evil. Oh my gosh. If we stuck with this, which we can, we have 2 other chaotic evil characters, including Doc Salem. Tiny and Doc Salem are chaotic evil. Now, just because he's chaotic evil doesn't mean he murders people, right? There's the whole thing: lawful good doesn't mean lawful nice. Chaotic evil doesn't mean that you kick puppies and burn down orphanages. This just means if he catches someone, then it's up to him to decide if someone has an accident or if he lets them go despite it being kind of a flagrant violation of something, which is probably how Camise gets away with what she does. Right? So he tends to be more, not whimsical, more spontaneous, and he tends to be more selfish. And you can have this good ideal of celebrating life and be chaotic evil, right? He looks out for himself first, which honestly, look at it, he's double arrogant. and so I think this works out very well. Or I guess I should say she if we're rolling for this stuff. And I mean, level, you could roll level, but that's not going to be necessarily as big. I'm not too worried about feats. Background we already have, so we'll collapse this. And now let's look at the classes real quick. Roll the D12. 5. A fighter, a soldier fighter. There we go. And what kind of fighter do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 different ones. Let's roll a D7. 1. An arcane archer. That might explain why he's very good at being a patrolman. He has good eyes. Or she. I'm sorry, she has good eyes. There you go. If you want to take things one step further, you can come down here to we could find out how old our character is. Stout halfling. Roll a percentile. We rolled 88, so we have an old female halfling. And so that means she's 162 plus 41 years. Or 1d41. 191 years old. Probably is why she passes down advice. Ta-da! Former soldier was most likely trained those. Okay, someone like Camise could have info. Name Hops. You want to name her Hops, Silver Pirate? Is Hops a nickname? Is Hops her last name and she goes by that because of military tradition? But there we go. Now, this is an example of how you can take random prompts and then apply them to a list that you already have. I want to explore through one more exercise how we can take a preconceived notion and then apply random prompts specifically to that. If that makes sense. We're doing the same thing but in reverse. Nickname? All right. So she's known as Hops. In fact, if she does Silver Pirate as a stout halfling, stout halflings get a bonus to con, and they're oftentimes thought of being cousins to dwarves. What if she's named Hops because she can, even at her advanced age, she might still be able to drink people under the table? Because I mean, we were talking about that as a coping mechanism as well. Her last name is Brewer. Hey, English, welcome. We're just about ready to get started on our second PC-inspired NPC. Well, then, what would her first name be? Florence. Florence Brewer. Ubiquitous. Ubiquitous seems to agree with you. All right. Now, taking a look at the list of inspirations from all of our officers and our ship. Not a villain. We're gonna do villains next. As an NPC, who do we want to develop next? Now, an NPC doesn't have to be overly friendly and tripping over themselves to help, but they just have to not be, not be a bad guy in a broad sense of the term. Let's pick someone, and if you just want to, if you say, no one else on the list looks like they'd be a good NPC for the party, you can also just say, let's make the... if we're talking about kind of a seaside city, do we want to go for the dockmaster? Do we want to go for the union representative of the Teamsters for the area, or the longshoremen? Do we want to go for the captain of the guard? Do we want to develop the leader of the merchants guild? A broad category. One that is still relevant in a town like this, but not one that has a... Well, I guess even the guildmaster would be connected to a couple of the PCs. Coast Guard leader? So maybe another friendly captain or so of a ship that understands them. An innkeeper, says Silver. Maybe less friendly. So kind of like maybe like a rival, like an Inspector Zenigata to loop on in his crew. Now, if you want, we do have this shadowy, benevolent question mark influence that has fallen upon the ship and two of our PCs. We could make kind of a supernatural NPC if we wanted. Pardon the sniffling. An assassin? I don't know how many people would reveal themselves to be an assassin straight up as a friend. All right. Well, I've seen Silver and Ubiquitous have offered up. I see Innkeeper and Coast Guard leader, and then we have this. I think it'd be cool to make a shadowy supernatural one. Store owner sells knickknacks in Scrimshaw and runs pawn shop on the side. Okay, so a friendly merchant. All right, so we have 3 by chat, and we have 1 by me. So what I'll do is I'll roll a 1d4. If it's a 1, we'll go with Ubiquitous's Coast Guard leader. If it's a 2, we'll go with Silver's Innkeeper. If it's a 3, we'll make this kind of fence character that Zulerpai has offered. And if it's a 4, then we'll make our shadowy influence. And Silver, thank you very much for the follow. So I'll tell you what, Silver. Silver, do me a favor and type in exclamation point 1D4. No spaces. Exclamation point 1D4. And obviously the process we use, we could spend the whole night just creating NPCs like this. But this is just for, for presentation purposes, for workshop purposes, to get you to see how it works and to open up your mind to this as a style of creating NPCs. Hey, Grimvex, welcome. Oh, all right, not sure if Silver's out there. Grimvex, you are a newly arrived non-committed third party. Grimvex, please type in !1D4 for me, please. Stops on a 2. That is going to be the innkeeper that Silver Pirate had mentioned. Now, the innkeeper could very well, end up being a fence of some kind, or like a friendly informant or contact. But for purposes of this occupation and history, right? We're starting with this. We have an innkeeper. Oh, you're just one roll too late, Silver. I asked Grimvex to step up there. You might have gone up for a cup of water or something. I'm sorry. All right, and then Grimvex departs right as Silver Pirate comes back. All right, so we're going with the innkeeper as the occupation and history. And so now, instead of rolling everything and then trying to find a container to shove it into, we're starting with the container, and we are going to pack all of our different Tetris pieces into the container that we've already predetermined. It's the other side of the coin, if that makes sense. All right, so we're going to make a couple rolls here, right? We're going to need a 20, 2 6s, and then 2 more 20s. Actually, hang on, let me do double check real quick. Doot. We're going back here. We're on, if any of you want to see these charts for yourself, page 89 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. So 20, 2 6s, 2 20s. 20, 6 6, 20 20. 5, 2 6, 7 7. 5, 2, 6, 7, 7. Interactions with others is a 12, and then we're doing the D6 again. So 12, 6, 6, 10, 12. 12, 6, 6, 10, 12. Eight, 5, 6, 1, and 3. Whoop, not 34. Excellent. So we have begun the process of developing this character. Now we're going to move this back over. We're going to bring up our Dungeon Master's Guide. There we go. And let's find out how we can pack our random rolls into the preconceived notion that we have an NPC innkeeper that will somehow be relevant. If there's not already an automatic connection, we could find another connection. But how can we make an NPC that's compelling to the party? Dr. Pepper? Oh, gotcha. Well, cheers to you, Silver Pirate. All right, we're going to scoot this over a little bit. Our NPC appearance. Once more, we rolled a 5. Ragged, dirty clothes. Could this indicate Grease tapes. Hey, I'm glad that you're enjoying our workshop. This is an excellent little worksheet that you can use to develop NPCs, and you'll see villains in part 2 of our stream tonight. But I'm glad that you're enjoying the storytelling and the prompting and the creative thinking. So our character, our other NPC, also has ragged, dirty clothes. Now, she's an innkeeper. Why is that? Is that because she may be the innkeeper, but she's also, she wears kind of ragged cleaning clothes because she's the one who also cleans the latrines and mops the floor and everything? Like, she does the hard work. She takes pride in it. Is she just a poor innkeeper? Maybe she puts a lot of her money back into her inn and doesn't take a lot for herself or himself. And, hey, Grimvex, thank you very much for re-upping that sub. You have now gone from a green salsa, kind of a more mild one, maybe like a salsa verde or even a guacamole, to a yellow, like a medium queso. You're even spicier now. Thank you. Yeah, it could also just be, he or she's a hardworking person, but doesn't make a lot of money. Oh, hey, that's great. Jensen, ma'am, and to your little ones there, thank you so much. I'm glad that you're having fun listening, and it is an honor to know that that there is individuals, couples, and even families that listen to the program and pick up and learn. And I hope that as these prompts are coming up, as I'm throwing out these ideas, maybe these are things that you're discussing between each other. Would one of you think of this person differently? Or if you want to have something else to offer to the conversation, you're welcome to do so. Jensen's wifey? Okay. Oh, that's great. Well then, for all of you out there, Jensen's family, let's continue having fun, and I would love to know if you have any thoughts on this character that we're developing. And after this, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk villains. And how can you create some interesting villains that will be compelling for your story? Because, well, I presume your story is going to be about your characters, and we'll base our villains off the characters. Need to go to bed? Have a good night. Well, thank you, Black Wolf, for hanging out with us. All right. This NPC's abilities. And again, the high ability could be 12 and the low ability could be 8. We're not talking numbers. For many instances, as soon as you assign math to a character, whether it's a villain, an NPC, or something, oftentimes that is how we can understand the person, and they stop being a person and rather a set of numbers. I could describe to you that this person, well, actually, here, let's do this. The high is dexterity, and the low is also charisma. I can still describe this character to you as being extremely muscle-bound. But how do you use your muscles? Are they efficient? You could have a 10 strength, and I could describe you as being pretty fit-looking. And so I would urge you to be very careful about how you quantify the characters you present. Whether you're a player presenting your player character, or whether you're a DM who is presenting an NPC, a villain, or something along those lines. All right? There's a difference between describing someone who's approaching you. Tall, maybe 6 feet, 1. Eats really healthily. Big muscles. Big muscles on this person. Looks like he hasn't shaved in a couple days. Hair's pulled back into a ponytail. Clothes look a little ragged. Definitely looks like a hard worker. But you notice the shoes. The shoes are nice and shiny. They're new. Did this person save up to buy new shoes? Is this a part of the hazard for whatever job they do? Now take that presentation of a character and apply it to someone walks to you, or a fighter walks up to you with, looks like he has a 16 strength score. And probably doesn't make a lot of money because he's dressed pretty badly. But he has some cool boots. Do you see what's jarring? What could remove us from the story? From our mind's eye? The theater in our mind? Describing someone as a fighter, as a mechanical thing. That can strip away the humanity, or I guess the D&D's a game of many races, the humanoidity from someone. Describing someone's strength, not by adjectives or the way that he or she carries themselves, but instead just saying a high strength score or a 16 strength or something along those lines, strips away any sort of mystique, any sort of awe or mystery to a character. There's a very good concept of, as soon as you give Cthulhu hit points, you've absolutely missed the point. And not just with Cthulhu, that's a very easy example, very low-hanging fruit. But it goes to show, as soon as you define something in a quantitative fashion, they suddenly lose that someone-ness, the mystery, perhaps even the caution. Right? If I told you Cthulhu has 1,000 hit points, all of a sudden you and your party are going to start looking at, oh, how much DPR can we pump out? Instead of trying to find the cult dagger to then put into the altar at the bottom of the sea and all this other stuff. Instead, the game becomes, how do we deplete Cthulhu of 1,000 hit points? To defeat Cthulhu, which you should never be able to do. So I hope that makes sense. On a little bit of a side rant there. Maybe the crew eats their meals at her inn when at dock because of some connections to the crew. Maybe she helps destitute sailors and so doesn't spend any money on clothes. And you know what, Zuler Pie? There could even be a connection between the two NPCs. Right? Not everything just has to go between the players, the player characters. But let's continue. The talent this NPC has is number 7. Great at solving puzzles. That could very well be, how do I keep this inn open another month? Or, what this means is, every time the crew goes to this inn, they see the innkeeper playing chess, or solving a maze, or something that happens, and you can use this as a dungeon master. Right? Early on, you present this knowledge. Later in the story, you might drop, as the dungeon master, a very tough riddle or some sort of puzzle into the lap of the player characters. And the player characters may be the players, let alone the player characters, may be absolutely baffled. However, when they think, wait a minute, there's the innkeeper back in town. She's always solving puzzles. Let's take it to that person. Now we have some interaction. And you know what? You can force it as a DM if you think it's relevant and it can play into the story and maybe reveal some more info. But it's also a good backup in case your players, or through their player characters because of bad rolls or something, can't figure out something that you had planned for them. So there's still a way, they just have to think of it and act on it. Our NPC's mannerism. This is going to be what helps the players remember the character. It's number 7. Whispers. Why does our character here, why does our NPC often, always? Or sometimes, but always at interesting times, whisper? Is it because this person has a naturally soft voice? Is it because a very shy personality, right? We have a low charisma, probably not the best at being around other people, despite being an innkeeper. Maybe he plays the mini game of accounting and uses the inn as a medium for that. What if the character always sounds like he or she is whispering because sometime in the character's past they got into a fight and got cut across the neck, and it damaged his or her vocal cords. I mean, obviously it didn't kill the person. I'm trying not to be too graphic with things. You know, it could have been a bar fight, a pirate attack, or something along those lines. But what if it's a physical thing? And so the NPC can speak normally for a while, but, you know, must always sip on water to keep things kind of moist and vibrating appropriately in the voice box. Ah, greetings, crew. It's a pleasure to see you again. Oh, I hope that you've been on many adventures. Come, sit. I'm gonna have to get myself some... yes. I'm gonna have to get myself some more water here. I've been a bit chatty today, and, well, you know how it goes. As a dungeon master, if you play that up, it could be an injury, it could be disease, it could just be that person's natural state of their vocal cords. If you play into that and do what I did, this is going to create a very memorable NPC. Ah, ubiquitous? Yeah, maybe this person is always seen with a pipe. That could be it too. Maybe to avoid gossip from spreading at the end. Ah. So, yes, that could be another thing. This person just got into the habit of whispering because of information control. Very good, Grease. Zuler Pie says maybe she has hired a manager, cook, and such, and as an unannounced owner likes to hobnob with the guests, who are poor sailors mainly. So she dresses... Ah, gotcha. Oh, so it's, undercover boss. Only it's more with the patrons than with the staff. Former slave of orcs or something, and is used to being... Oh, yeah, so this person could have a history of some sort of a traumatic event. One of the ropes on the ships broke and hit them across the neck and now damaged vocal cords. Hey, there you go, Jensen. You see how this character is blossoming in front of us? All of this potential, and all we started with was the concept of innkeeper, a general idea of nautical, and then some random role prompts. And look at what's happening. This character is developing in front of us, and this is an NPC. All right, let's continue. What is his or her interaction with others? We rolled an 8. That is hot-tempered. This person is feisty. Now, it could mean angry, or at least prone to get angry quickly. Maybe the whispering is kind of a way to keep things calm. But when interacting with others, this character can have a hot temper. Is it about a particular subject? Is it a certain person, either as an individual or orcs? Anytime he or she sees an orc, just instantly, the veins in the neck bulge and just, yeah, what do you want? And suddenly when that person's not whispering, or isn't being the polite person anymore. So something makes this person hot-tempered, or someone, or someone's, or some things. Now the useful knowledge, that's up for us to develop again as our character comes to life. Now the ideal. What is the ideal this character holds? 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a neutral ideal, And that neutral ideal is number 6, people. Interacting with people, helping people, observing people. We have a people person. Which makes me go back. We have a people person, but someone who can get hot-tempered. Maybe goes on a rant. You could be a people person and go on a rant. So we could develop this idea of people. I believe in people. I want to be around people. I like helping people. They're like the Hulk. Their secret is to not hulking out is that they're always angry. Sorry, I have to lean back. I almost think if I just like somehow pop something in my back, everything will feel better. Likes being around people but hates it when she has to repeat herself. Oh, okay. So hot-tempered is I will ask you nicely once, and if I have to do it again, if I have to do it again, don't make me need to do it again. This NPC's bond is number 1. Dedicated to fulfilling a personal life goal. Is the inn the life goal? Is the inn the ends to the life? Or the means to this person's life? And if so, what is beyond the inn? To whom or what is this goal dedicated? There's a passion. This bonds the character to a person, persons, or a place, or something. So that this NPC is not just generic cookie cutter inn receptionist or innkeeper, but is a part of the world. Because he or she wants to influence it and wants to be a part of it and share in it. Would the life goal be to own a boat one day? You know, if we went with the Whispers because they sailed before, sustained an injury, probably, you know, swore off of sailing for a while recuperating, wanted to get back to sea but own their own vessel, and so maybe they opened up an inn. Because running an inn can be a lot like running a ship. You still got to keep it clean. You got to manage people. You have to yell orders. You have to worry about money. There's similarities. So it could be something like that, or it could be something wildly different. And lastly, what is our character or our NPC's flaw or secret? We rolled number 3. Number 3 is also arrogance. Is this the spouse? Did we somehow accidentally come up with the spouse of our first character? Do they have they sort of deserved each other in that case, or is this actually now think of this? We have generated 2 NPCs that share a lot of similar qualities. Does that speak then to the particular part of town or the particular socioeconomic strata or something that these people are from, or a particular lifestyle? Our flaw is that we're arrogant, right? If we think we're the commander of a not necessarily a ship, but of an inn. Mrs. Life, you think it's a sibling? Maybe they aren't married, but they fight like they are. So they're 2 friends who are probably just too arrogant to marry each other, even though everyone already considers them to be. Or in the same childhood gang. You like twin? If that's the case, then, and I think we can get away with this because we already knew that we wanted an innkeeper. And so there's some other things that we can probably just assign to the character. And in this case, we would have a if this is a twin, are you thinking identical, or are we going fraternal? And this is actually we have a male twin, or otherwise we could just roll through it and just say that we know that we have a stout halfling, and the name is going to be something something brewer. Brother. Let's roll for alignment. We rolled a 28. 28 is chaotic good. So we have a chaotic evil and a chaotic good twin. Chaotic good, male stout halfling. Now we're going to come down here. Roll the d12. We rolled an 8. Ranger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2. Gloomstalker. Oh, that could give us a connection. Uh-oh. We may have accidentally on purpose made a connection. Right? We have a Gloomstalker Ranger in the party. And that is... that's Camise. Or no, I'm sorry. That's Vivian. Jensen, you're going to get some sleep? Hey, thank you for hanging out. Jensen's wifey, and Jensen's kids. It was awesome to meet the rest of you. And I'm very honored that you listen to the show and that you enjoy it. They could not get along but make it work. Yeah, it seems like they each had their calling. So if we have a ranger, especially a Gloomstalker one, of course that could then be another tie-in to this shadowy influence. Did this ship... Actually, ooh, how about this? We had someone who is in the Navy, like in an official military branch. The brother instead went into like a private sailing, right? So we have twins. We have fraternal twins, but they took different paths. They still ended up sailing, but this character ended up sailing on that ship of misfits, which could also be why this innkeeper is very kind to any of the crew members from the Forget-Me-Not, because this halfling, this ranger, was taught the skills of being a Gloomstalker, by the spirits aboard the vessel. The story writes itself, folks. All we have to do is open the way for it. Emmy, your brain is dead. I need to take a break from campaign stuff. Well then, take a break and come join us as we make campaign stuff. Have a good night. It's been fun learning. Oh, that's great. Oh, thank you so much, Jensen, wifey. And yeah, Grease Tape's business partners, they may well be. I mean, just because they're siblings doesn't mean that they also didn't go into business either. Noah, so then, oh, malt, ooh, so yeah, the, you know what? I think we know where our old fighter goes for brew, and that's because our innkeeper probably has a house brew that he makes, and of course, how could he turn down his sister? And so oftentimes Florence here is seen at the inn. So you want to name this character Noah Brewer? Everyone calls him Malt. He got the inn in the will, and she got the boat and dock. Oh, so ubiquitous. You're thinking outside the box here. And so our NPCs, of course, have NPCs. And it would seem that there's a family business, or at least an inheritance, that the children from the last surviving parent ended up getting the business, which could have been hospitality related, relating to, you know, food, or even like a pleasure cruise that could necessitate a dock and maybe like a rowboat or something. And oh, I like it. I like it. Now, if we do this, and before we finish up our NPC stuff, because we have connections now. I mean, if this person was connected to the old boat, suddenly the Forget-Me-Not and Camise, as well as Vivian, they're connected to each other, which would also then mean, so we have Doc and Camise for the PC connections. If we actually come down here, this would be a connection to the Forget-Me-Not, Vivian, Camise. We have someone great at solving puzzles, someone who does like live and works with the common folk, who receives some kind of injury. Let's see. Could this connect him with anyone else? This could possibly connect to Tiny, because Noah allows Tiny to sit in the common room of the inn and tell her fish stories and other tales to the people in the inn for entertainment, which then gets people coming to the inn in business. And in her own way, she appreciates that, as well as the fact that Tiny is also a very, well, we have a halfling. We have a halfling who has a bit of a shine for a Loxodon, which, by the way, is an elephant person out of the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, who appreciates the irony of a Loxodon named Tiny telling tall fish tales. That could be another connection if we want. If it seems forced, you could remove it. Put them together, and what do we get? Malthops. The true BBEG. I am Malthops. So yeah, hey. That was some good NPC generation. And when we come back, I'm going to get up and take about a 10-minute break, everyone. Refresh yourselves, you know, get something to drink, use the restroom, do what you got to do. When we come back, we're going to make 2 villains in a similar fashion. We're going to just generate something and then apply it to the PC somehow. And then our next villain, we're going to predefine in some way, and then we're going to package our random rolls into it and go from there. So, BRB in about 10 minutes, everyone.